The green yak hair that turned inward and went, it was horrifying. Wow.
It's not every day the CIA is brought in to help an actor deal with torture. Today, we're taking a look at the crazy things actors and crews went through on sets. Which crew is secretly drugged with PCP? How about the actor who was kidnapped on their way back to set? Let's check out these wild stories.
I opened up my door and I saw a couple of ambulances pulling in.
Filming Titanic was an intense experience for all involved, especially the day when over 60 people were accidentally drugged by chowder. Yes, we're talking about soup. One crew member was so over director James Cameron that he spiked the chowder for the cast and crew with PCP, a drug that caused everyone who'd consumed the soup to have intense hallucinations. Cameron was so disoriented that he couldn't even find his way out of the set that he'd just spent the last 4 weeks filming in, and then he was stabbed in the face with a pen by a crew member. Meanwhile, cast and crew members were racing each other in wheelchairs and doing a conga line while they were riding their high in the hospital.
Now I'm starting to witness some bizarre behavior.
Keep in mind, this was all happening in the middle of the night because their lunch break was around midnight. To this day, there has never been confirmation as to who actually spiked the chowder.
I don't know who did it or why.
When Cumberbatch was filming To the Ends of the Earth, he ran into a bit of trouble driving back to set with two friends. They thought a flat tire was the worst of their troubles until the group wound up being kidnapped at gunpoint.
Surrounded by these guys, forced back into the car, driven off-road.
They knew they were in a dangerous area, but had no idea that they'd be facing 6 kidnappers who tied them up so tightly that Cumberbatch reported he started losing sensation in his limbs.
So it was truly one of the most terrifying experiences of my life.
The Grinch is as bitter as can be, and with good reason.
I did the makeup 100 times.
In order to deal with the pain of transforming into the Grinch, the production team for How the Grinch Stole Christmas actually brought in CIA operatives to help Jim Carrey. The actor had said his costume made him feel like he was being buried alive.
First day was 8.5 hours, and I told Ron Howard I couldn't do the movie.
So, specialists from the CIA trained in how to endure torture helped Carrey learn how to endure so he could get through shooting the film. When filming Youth in Revolt, Justin Long suffered a similar fate to that of the drugged Titanic cast. He had gotten another drug that also happened to be laced with PCP, rendering him vulnerable enough to be kidnapped. What exactly did the kidnappers want with Justin Long? They threatened to film the actor while he was rolling to release it to TMZ, hoping to cause some kind of scandal. Long wanted nothing to do with it, and actually ended up escaping by jumping out of a vehicle and suffering nerve damage in his leg as a result. Joseph Gordon-Levitt had a very close call when he was filming Premium Rush, playing the dangerous and daring role of a bike messenger. The actor was biking through cars at 30 miles per hour, which is actually pretty speedy for a bike. A taxi had driven over the safety cones and cut Gordon-Levitt off so bad that the actor flew off into the back of the taxi's windshield and sliced his forearm. The crew was terrified watching what happened on the monitors and genuinely thought that they'd lost the actor.
Just emotionally, it wasn't going to be Batman for them without the Batmobile.
The Batmobile looks pretty out there. So much so that a drunk driver mistook it for an alien spacecraft one night. The man in question didn't have a license and was struck with panic seeing what he thought was an alien attack, so his first instinct was to speed towards it and bang up Batman's car. At one point during filming for X-Men Origins Wolverine, Hugh Jackman had to run down a hallway in the nude, wearing nothing but prop claws on his hands.
First day of X-Men Origins, I ran naked. I quite enjoy it, really.
He had come around the corner, and much to his surprise, every woman on the production team was waiting for him, waving dollar bills around jokingly. To cover his business, Jackman used the claws, but because they were so sharp, he actually wound up cutting himself.
Obviously it's PG-13, so you can't have bits and pieces flying about, right?
The Revenant was an intense filming experience for everyone involved, and while Leonardo DiCaprio dove into his method acting, the whole cast was forced to experience intense isolation and disconnect from the rest of the world, since there was absolutely no service in Alberta, Canada, where they were shooting. In order to receive and send any messages, the team had no choice but to actually snowmobile back and forth from set to a place with some reception.
It was very tough, but we knew that we were signing on for something very experimental, very different.
Ryan Reynolds probably became very nervous before filming the Amityville Horror remake, when just a few days before they began, a body had washed up onto the shore right by their set.
And then a dead body surfaced in the lake, which was interesting.
This was probably the first indicator that the production was cursed. The second was when Reynolds and other cast members began constantly waking up at 3:15 a.m. What makes this particular time especially creepy is that it's the time the real-life Amityville horror happened.
The lights turning on in the middle of the house one night, and nobody was in there, and the guards were called.
The Wizard of Oz set wasn't so wonderful for the actors. The Scarecrow, aka Ray Bolger, had such intense makeup on that it actually left permanent damage marks all over the lower half of his face. Judy Garland didn't have it great either, probably starving the whole time since she was kept on a diet of chicken soup, black coffee, diet pills, and 4 packs of cigarettes a day. So many movies are filled with CGI nowadays, but Christopher Nolan wanted a real farm for Interstellar. The crew planted over 800 acres of corn. He wanted to show corn was being farmed in a place that it shouldn't be. And since they were filming in Calgary, Alberta, that was definitely the case, and the corn didn't even last. Alan Rickman wasn't hesitant to put some pretty drastic measures in place for Matthew Lewis and Rupert Grint when filming Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Rickman had banned the boys from coming within even 5 feet of his new BMW since they'd spilled milkshakes in his old car. Let's talk about McLovin. When Mintz-Plasse was filming Superbad, he had to perform this intimate scene. But the actor was only 17 at the time. Mintz-Plasse's mother had to be present on set while they filmed that particular bit. Very awkward. What made it worse for the actor was the fact that he was still a virgin at the time. His mom had to watch him work through and figure it all out in front of a whole crew of people. How was it for his mom? Well, she had a pretty great experience, laughing, eating popcorn, and talking to producers on set.
You know me, right?
Tom Felton was notorious for sneaking candy onto set in his costumes. While he may have thought he was being stealthy, the crew did notice, and after The Prisoner of Azkaban, the costume department sewed up pockets on all the costumes. Many of the other young witches and wizards had begun sneaking food onto set following Felton's not-so-stealthy lead. Talk about strict measures.
Trying to say that something is coming.
When filming Avengers Infinity War, the cast made good use of their downtime. They actually got together and made a music video. However, it's never seen the light of day because the cast thought it was far too embarrassing to actually be released, especially for Mark Ruffalo. According to Anthony Mackie, they were halfway through the process and then they realized just how bad they all were at dancing, and since no one else would, they felt it was best the whole venture just be put to rest. Who knew how intense bringing these productions to life was for some actors and crews? We're pretty impressed with how well they performed despite some insane conditions. What we are definitely hoping to see soon is a leaked copy of that Avengers music video.